Hello, YouTube. This is Diego Calero, Dr. Diego Calero. I'm a biological anthropologist, graduated in Berkeley, and I've just completed a month on the carnivore diet. And what I want to tell people in the community is to just tell a little bit of my story. So, for about, I don't know, 13 years, I've been gaining a fair amount of weight, and I've decided that I needed to lose that weight. And I've tried a million different things throughout these years, and none of them like fundamentally worked. Only alternate day fasting worked once. So I decided, all right, fine, I'll give it a shot. And I've done basically a lot of research in any life modification that I have ever done, including that. And the first thing I'll say, I like playing with I'm a very disagreeable person, so I enjoy like finding some disagreements. So the first thing I'll say is that Dr. Anthony Chaffee, the carnivore diet is not a natural human diet, right? There's no documented human society that eats only bullet coffee, ribeye steaks, bacon, and eggs for a living. That's just not a thing that any society has ever been documented to do. Now, being natural doesn't necessarily mean being good, right? Like, there's nothing more natural than like dying through no fault of your own of a horrible disease that you didn't want to contract that eats you from the inside out. Like nature is basically crocodiles and mosquitoes and dengue and so on coming, delivering the sweet poison of death to your door. So it doesn't make any sense to expect that like a natural diet would necessarily be a better diet. And it's also basically kind of crazy, as far as I can tell, the belief in the community that there is such a thing as a human diet, as if all humans are supposed to eat the same thing. Like, as a biological anthropologist, I find that type of recognition totally like crazy, because the people of South Sudan and the people of Sri Lanka and the people of Scandinavia have evolved in completely different environments for different reasons. However, given what is natural isn't good, that doesn't mean carnivore cannot be a proper human diet. And I think that that's kind of the case where the carnivore community has a stronger case to make for themselves. And my belief is basically that because in our evolutionary history, no matter which plants you have adapted to and the genomes that different particular groups have adapted to, there has always been animals, right? Like every single place that has ever been inhabited by any human group, there have always been animals there. And that's why, even though there's a massive biological human diversity and variation in human genomes and human systems in general, we are all equipped, willing, and able to digest meat, because there's animals literally like everywhere, right? Um, as for me, I tried to start this diet in order to lose weight, right? And then I didn't really lose weight. And I lost the initial water weight, so I lost like 3 kilos in the beginning. That's about 7 pounds, right? And that's fine. And I did not lose any more weight. So, but what happened is that it completely transformed how I feel all day long, and I just feel so freaking awesome. Like, I never had depression. I was always a happy person. I always had a normal like baseline positive happy mood. But this has taken it to like an even like different level, where my mood is like flat, stable, and super positive all day long. And I've seen a million other positive transformations, right? I got more muscular, more desire to exercise, higher drive in general, higher sex drive, and it improved with my ADHD. My vernacular increased, my verbal ability went through the roof. My capability of writing and steadily performing work has increased dramatically. It basically had like a massive, massive, massive amount of benefits. In terms of like like negative sides, perhaps it affected my sleep a little bit, but my sleep has always been very screwed up. And more visitations to the bathroom than I would prefer, but I know that this is going to subside. In 2018, I ate only meat at home, and I ate whatever I wanted outside of home. And at that time, the bathroom stuff eventually just went away. Um, it seems that I'm on the latter end of the distribution of how long it takes for those things to go away. So it's taking a little bit longer for me than it takes for most carnivores. but it doesn't really matter. It's good enough for me, and the amount of other benefits that I'm accruing from this are absolutely insane. And I've seen hundreds and hundreds of hours of videos of other carnivores and people and doctors and so on. And it seems to me like it's basically the closest thing to a panacea, medically speaking, that I have ever seen in my life. Like, I don't know of any other type of treatment of anything that has such a vast and deep wideness and scope of different positive things that it seems to cause in the people who are willing to basically go all the way and stop consuming carbs and plants altogether. Again, as an evolutionary anthropologist, I can confirm that like plants are definitely trying to kill you, right? If you had any doubt left, there is no doubt in my mind that like a plant's life is all about how good it is at poisoning you or not poisoning you and so on. And yeah, so human evolution is a relatively complex problem, but that doesn't mean that there won't be some points of convergence that might make it that might create optimal desirable like diets like that in the long run, because it basically was very hard to adapt to the agricultural revolution, and it happened about what um, you know 10 plus thousand years ago, depending on the region. And what happens with that is when you have a new evolutionary adaptation, it takes a little while for organisms to adapt. So we are somewhat more adept than some other animals at processing the poisons that exist in foods, especially in the foods that we've pre-selected for agricultural purposes. However, evolutionary selection pressure is maximum when you are a spermatozoid, right? Because if you don't make it to the egg, bam, your genes are gone. And then it's second maximum when you're a baby in the uterus, third maximum when you're a baby, and so on and so forth, right? So it's stronger the younger you are. And then when you're like a grandma, you're only like taking care of the kids every now and then. There isn't that much of importance in like what your genes are up to at that point. So, because of that fitness pressure being more selectively strong in people the younger they are, what ends up happening is that we are better adept at digesting and eliminating the toxins and the poisons in vegetables when we are like young. And that's why there's so many older people on carnivore that are thriving, whereas older people on veganism are doing really badly, right? Um, and so, my recommendation for people who are evolutionarily old, which is not the same as what we call old nowadays, right? Like, I'm basically evolutionarily old, right? Like, you're basically like, if you get to like 40, you're evolutionarily old, is to only eat meat. And then, if you're risking eating basically poisons and plants and so on when you're younger, accept the fact that because of sheer Darwinism, over time, you are going to be less and less adept at digesting the poisons in vegetables. I just saw Bill Knott's video where he asked people to like help him pay for meat because he's in Alaska, and in Alaska meat is super expensive, and that's what he needs to go down from his impressive 700 pounds. And like, can you believe how nice the carnivore community is? Like, he asked for 2,500, and at the time I saw him right before recording this, it was already 50, uh, no, $54,000 that were committed to just like making this guy have a better time and find the nutrition he needs. Yeah, this is another remark. Like, the carnivore community seems to be like amazing. I think the personalities of people are super cool. Uh, Carrie and Kelly in particular have like these super nice, uplifting, upbeat personalities that I love. And on an epistemological basis, as a scientist and a philosopher, I do enjoy most of the ways of thinking that Dr. Anthony Chaffee does. And yeah, so those were my first 32 days as a carnivore. Um, I Even though I didn't lose as much weight as I expected, like, there is no doubt that I'm going to continue eating like this for as long as I possibly can. And hopefully, I want to connect more with like other people in the community as well. In part to keep myself on track, but also just to like get to know people and hang out and do things and so on and so forth. Cheers.